Section86.com. We're changing the world of podcasting one show at a time.
86 Productions.
Take what you wanna take. Don't leave me here. Lasting leap years ever your fear of the one and only love.
Hello and welcome to Off the Mark, the best podcast providing the most in-depth insight and analysis into the world of professional wrestling. On today's show, we have Aaron, Roger, and Doug to join Anders as we discuss this month's view from the turnbuckle. So, we got some depressing news. Harley Race recently passed away. It's very sad. Wrestling legend, of course. Aaron, what do you think about the situation?
Yeah, Harley Race is one of those guys that was kind of before our time because he was really big in the NWA. He had really historic matches with Ric Flair and a few other legends like the Dory Funk and Terry Funk as well. Dory Funk Jr. And he had just really big rivalries within the NWA. He was known as like a man's man, a real tough guy. He was somebody that you just did not mess with. He was like the enforcer. Like people talk about Ming being a powerhouse. He essentially was that back in the 70s and the 80s. And, you know, unfortunately didn't get to see a whole lot of his matches, but everybody who really said anything, it was just about the type of man that he was and how he carried himself. And so, you know, it's always unfortunate whenever you hear about a wrestler passing away, and this is another one of those instances.
He wasn't as old as I thought he was, and I thought that was kind of surprising because knowing how much he did in the ring as a wrestler and also how much he did as a manager, too, in the WWF and behind the scenes there. He really did contribute a lot more than I think people realize to all of the professional wrestling, and it is sad to see him go.
Yeah, I mean, I echo your thoughts. It's always sad to see someone pass away, but I think we're at the point where we're gonna, continue to see people from that generation pass away. They lived a very rough life back then, and rest in peace, Harley. He's a legend. I think no question about that. He was absolutely a legend.
And we actually have the WWE King of the Ring coming back. Roger, do you think it's too little, too late, or do you think that they should have done this elsewhere?
I mean, I'm glad that they have finally listened to our suggestions after saying it for the last 2.5 years about how they need to do a King of the Ring tournament. I think I would be happier if this were NXT because, the Mae Young Classic and the Cruiserweight Classic, in my opinion, were successes without a doubt. And the King of the Ring back in the day, when done properly, could be a success. But I was thinking about the King of the Ring winners. Half of them were fantastic. The other half, Billy Gunn, Ken Shamrock. I mean, there were some misses in there, shall we say. And let's see how well they booked this. I don't think Sheamus was a particularly good King of the Ring. A lot of times they got it wrong. And is it going to be a tournament that means something? Is it going to, do you get a title shot at SummerSlam like when Brock won it? Do you get a number one contendership of something like I think it was the Cruiserweight Championship or the Mae Young Classic? But because if it's just you get to say you're King of the Ring and you get to put on a scepter and a crown and a stupid cape, well, who really cares?
I love that they're bringing it back, but kind of what Roger was saying in the aspect of, what are they going to do with it? And I think they're just not pushing it even enough. If you're going to make it or make it return, do it right, make it a big thing. You can have this be a pay-per-view, which will elevate the winner that much even more that it happened on a pay-per-view. And make it for something. Make it for the number one contendership. Make it for he can challenge any title. But sadly, now that I just said that, I think you're going to see somebody like R-Truth win and challenge for the 24/7 title. So,
while he still owns it.
Right.
Roger, again, I'm so sick and tired of you besmirching the great name of the one Billy Gunn. And that's just, it really hurts my feelings. I just want you to know that. With that said, I definitely agree with your guys' thoughts on that. Quick trivia question. Can anyone name the very first ever King of the Ring winner?
John Cena.
Are you asking the first of like the lineal tournaments or like the first one who ever won it?
The first one who ever won it. Yeah.
I thought it was Macho.
Macho when he won the actual title, wasn't it? Or that was at a WrestleMania.
So Macho did win a King of the Ring tournament, of course, when he became King Macho.
Wasn't it like Duggan or something like that?
So, no, Duggan was the first Royal Rumble. Don the Rock Morocco is the first one, followed by Harley Race, amazingly enough.
Because he was King Race in WWE for a bit, wasn't he?
Mhm.
So, and then of course the last one was Bad News Barrett, the king of bad news at that point, and that was
That
back
was
in 2015. So
I thought Sheamus won it after that.
Sheamus
No.
won it in 2010. And then Bad News Barrett was 2015. So this will be the first one they've had in 4 years. So I mean, they held it every year for a while, and then it just after
We should make this
2002.
the Olympics. It comes back every 4 years.
Yeah, I like tournaments. I know, and we're going to talk about tournaments. I know in a little bit. I've always thought that it's a great way to help build things up, and you can have you can have one match per night, leading up to a pay-per-view, and like you said, have it be for a title or have it be for something special. And I think that'd be a really great idea. And this is a way you can showcase that middle card that, hey, this is somebody we think is special. And they've had a lot of misses, Mabel being one of them. I mean, even Ken Shamrock, but that was also mostly because Shamrock had some more personal issues. But Billy Gunn, they thought Billy Gunn might be a breakout star. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So you have misses, but you do have a lot of hits. Stone Cold Steve Austin, famous Austin 316 promo came from King of the Ring. And then you have a lot of other people, Owen Hart, Bret Hart, Teddy DiBiase, of course, Randy Savage as well. So you have a lot of really great people that came from there. And either they used the gimmick well or it was a springboard for them to do more things. So I think this is a good thing, and I'm excited that they're bringing it back.
Is it really unfortunate that Billy Gunn actually won the King of the Ring?
Well, considering that the phrase Billy Gunn the title is something that exists now, I would say that anything that Billy Gunn won probably made it unfortunate. I mean, so here's the thing. If you look at that run between like 96 and 02, it's a who's who of names. Austin, Triple H in 97. You've got, I think, Kurt Angle in 2000, Brock Lesnar in 2002. I think Edge is 2001. All Hall of Fame.
Was that off the top of your head?
Yes, it was.
Oh, wow.
And then you have Ken Shamrock in there, who, like, I at least get it. He was a big name in UFC, and they were pushing him. And Billy Gunn. One of these things is not. It's like, how people say that Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl? Billy Gunn is the Dilfer of King of the Ring winners. He did it, but you're not really sure how or why. And ideally, it never happens again.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, like you take a look, like 91 and 93, Bret Hart won, 94, Owen Hart won, and then it was Mabel. I mean, you look at the list of the King of the Ring winners, and like Mabel, and then probably Billy Gunn, maybe Tito Santana, you could say. And, those are the ones that are going to be at the bottom of the list.
All right, so let's talk about someone who's at the top of the list, referring to Seth Rollins. He took on Brock Lesnar, and he won the Universal title, which is very impressive because no one picked it. I would have thought maybe Seth wins by DQ, possibly, but not him winning, and maybe clean, if you want to say that. Aaron, what do you think about what they did here? Because I think this was the biggest upset of the weekend.
I get why they did it, but I think it was unnecessary. I really hated when John Cena won the WWE title in Elimination Chamber, and then Vince McMahon came out and said, "Oh no, you have one more challenger. It's Batista." And the only reason they did that was so that way Batista could win the title, so that way John Cena had an opponent at WrestleMania. And it's like, what? That's why you wanted to do it? You just wanted him to have an opponent? And this felt very similar. It was hey, we need Seth Rollins to chase the title for 4 weeks, and we need it to be Brock Lesnar. And I just thought that was such a, why? Like that's unnecessary, why even have Lesnar win the title at that point in time? Why not have Seth Rollins take on Roman Reigns even? Like a face versus face where Lesnar inserts himself midway through the match. It'd be kind of a take on what they did at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 31. And that's just me thinking off the top of my head too. Like have Brock Lesnar cash in then, and have it be an interesting callback to that WrestleMania, and then have Lesnar win at that time, and then wait a couple months, and then Seth could win the title, or Roman could, one of those two things. I just felt like it was they did it only so that way they could have a story for 4 weeks and not anything else. And I thought that was unnecessary.
I'm going to say this. I actually enjoyed them. It was a good match. Never saw it coming. Excited. But to Aaron's point, this is the match that they should have had at WrestleMania. This was the type of match that they should have done there, where instead of it was being, a 5-minute, 3 stomps and over, they should have done this there. I enjoyed the match. The fact that he spun him around by the tape around his waist. I thought that was hilarious. good match for what Brock Lesnar can do. Entertaining match. Surprised with Seth Rollins winning, but to me, you just took everything that Brock Lesnar winning the Money in the Bank and how he won Money in the Bank, and then the cash in and Extreme Rules. Everything was just, I don't know, dumb. I was dumbfounded by the fact that there was like no, again, repeating myself, no planning, no logic to anything that happened. I think you even just decreased the Money in the Bank by doing this. Where was the true payoff? Okay, Seth Rollins wins again, but I don't know. I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. I don't like the storyline aspect of it. But overall, as a match, I thought it was decent.
I think the match, let's start with the good. The match, good. And I'm using Andy's point, though you're not the only person who said it. For those people who say, I don't care about Brock Lesnar, I'm tired of Brock Lesnar, I don't like Brock Lesnar, this is why Brock Lesnar matters. Because Brock Lesnar, when motivated and given a proper opponent, can put on your best match of the night. And you don't have many guys who look like a killer, who are large, who can wrestle like this. Braun Strowman, while over, can't touch Brock in the ring. Roman Reigns can't touch Brock in the ring. Undertaker in his prime could do it, but that was a long time ago. So this is why Brock Lesnar is valuable, because him and Seth had a great match. Problem is, why wasn't this at WrestleMania? Kind of to what I think Doug said. And also, instead of letting Seth Rollins essentially have what should be an epic title reign, kind of like what Kofi's having, you just ping pong the championship back and forth. Like it was pointless. There's no point in Brock winning the Money in the Bank to cash in at Extreme Rules to lose it at SummerSlam. That was stupid. And also, we've already seen this match. Why not have Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan? Like that would have been fantastic at SummerSlam. Something fresh, something new, something different. On top of that, I mean, now Seth Rollins has essentially taken the heavyweight championship from Brock Lesnar 3 times. Okay, so is he kayfabe the strongest wrestler in the company? Like, this is the one thing about Seth consistently beating him, is that now I'm not really sure where you go from here. And also, why on earth did we go from him being able to put away Brock in one match, but he couldn't finish off Corbin? Like that, why did Corbin get 3 rematches, but Brock doesn't get? I mean, just there's such inconsistency and poor booking. It's just like, I wanted to care about this, and I would have cared about this if this were Mania. But by now, yeah, surprised. But much like Brock Roman, I just didn't care last year, and I don't care about this.
No, but what do you think about the that Kofi and Orton went to double DQ or double countout? What do you think about that?
I mean, I feel like I've seen this before. Didn't I see this with AJ versus Joe? Didn't I see this versus AJ versus Nakamura? I mean, how many times? I mean, I think last year's SummerSlam, if I recall correctly, went to like a double count out. So when I keep seeing the same storylines being repeated and the same non-finishes, and especially after that awesome spot of the crossbody into the RKO, and then you essentially go into a double count out is a fine move for a match on Raw or SmackDown, but that's not something you should be doing at a pay-per-view, let alone SummerSlam. And the difference, you want to highlight the difference between why people like TakeOver and why people don't like WWE pay-per-views, because matches don't end in double count-outs and disqualifications on TakeOver. If you get what you want on SummerSlam, it's cool. You were just getting hot and entertaining. Oh, count out. We're done here. I'm glad the crowd booed, because that's a terrible finish. That's stupid. That's inconclusive. That doesn't make me want to see more. That makes me want to turn the channel.
I do agree on that. Doug, do you feel the same way about that?
I think I would have liked it more had it been one of those. If it had just been single count out. Like he hits the RKO, Kofi, rolls out of the ring to avoid the pinfall, but can't respond. Okay, you want to continue the feud? Great. Have Randy Orton mock him from inside the ring, standing above, on the off the ropes, mocking his kids, do his little thing while Kofi can't get back in the ring. You can still continue the feud, but we don't have a non-finish. It seems stupid.
Yeah, I definitely echo your guys' thoughts on this. I'm kind of curious, because it seems like they're going to just continue the feud, at least for another month.
Not until WrestleMania.
I mean, who knows? Maybe, right? Like with how WWE does things. Yeah, Orton, I want to say he's a 12 or 13-time champion at this point in time. And you want to be careful, because Orton still has probably a good, honestly, I'd probably say 10 years left in him. And so you don't want to have him have too many title runs, because I want to say Orton's like 38, I would guess, at this point. Someone's going to do the quick math on that. He's going to have a few more title runs in there, and they want to be, I know they are very careful about the fact that John Cena has 16 and Ric Flair has 16. Orton I would imagine for the most part, the max he would get is 16. So you have 3 title runs left on it. I don't think that this is the time that you do one of them. I would say
He's
you wait.
39.
39. There you go. So probably 6 more years in the full time. Maybe, after that, 5 years part time. You could see. So, I would say that this is the time that you don't do it. You have it for another month, have Kofi win, but you have to have a really good heel to take it away from him. And this is where, as being the drum for Samoa Joe, he really should have taken the title away. He didn't. So who's the next heel? You got to have somebody else on SmackDown. And right now with SmackDown, Kevin Owens is, one of the top baby faces. I could have seen Owens take it from Orton. So if Orton isn't the next guy, you have to have somebody like credible next in line. And I don't know if they do.
And that's definitely why I went to a double countout, which, I echo your guys' thoughts. That should have happened. You should never do a double countout, especially in the major 4 that you have every year. NXT,
Hey, can I say one thing before we move on about Aaron's point? You're looking for someone credible? Because I can think of one heel who no longer is going to get a rematch for the Universal Championship, who's probably coming over to SmackDown when they move to Fox because you put your biggest name there. And I think we're going to see who Kofi's challenger is going to be on the first night or the first pay-per-view or something like that. Because at this point, after Orton, who's left? Daniel Bryan was already beaten. Like there's no heels left.
Well, and yeah, they're trying to move away from the wild card rule we've heard, and so if that's the case, then yeah, if you want to have Lesnar be a SmackDown guy, which fine, do that. That's going to get a lot more eyeballs on Fox, and it's going to get a lot more eyeballs on the SmackDown brand. So yeah, Lesnar as the champion probably would help out quite a bit. I think that would be a really good idea. If that's the route they want to go. Daniel Bryan probably not going to, get another shot at the title, or if he does, just be, a courtesy thing, and then he's not going to take it from him. They need a marketable name, and yeah, Lesnar probably would be that name. So, come October, if that's the case, I think that would be cool.
Boo. Just how I felt about Gallows and Anderson winning the Raw tag titles, but it also makes sense same time because they got the club back together. So, are you happy that they?
Andy, let me ask you real quick.
Yes.
Who'd they win the titles from? Do you even remember?
Revival.
Who were the champions before Revival?
Hold on.
The Usos.
The Usos.
Was it the Usos? It was Hawkins and Ryder. That's right. That's how terrible. They have tossed those titles around. They are useless. They are pointless at this point in time. So them winning the titles, it's whatever, right? It really is. Yeah, you forgot it was Ryder and Hawkins, and you love Ryder.
They got the gender push. They did nothing, got jobbed out all the time, and then magically became champions.
Yeah.
What happened to building people up to actually earn title shots? They just randomly turned heel with AJ and okay, you're in a title shot, you win.
It is a contract negotiation ploy.
Well, that's an elite level move.
They just signed him. Just saying, here, have a new 5-year contract worth $500,000. Oh, and we'll give you the titles.
Oh, and face paint.
Oh, yeah, and face paint.
Well, to be fair, the face paint looks cool.
Hey, they're trying to resurrect the Ascension. I saw the sign again.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they were even a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But
do they still work for the company?
I'm pretty sure they do. They probably work live events because they got to make their downside guarantee.
At what point do you request going back to NXT?
Ask Tyler Breeze.
I bet he's the happiest man on the roster.
Oh, he looks happy. You can legitimately, he looks way happier because he gets to tour around Florida, and he gets to come home every night, and he's not having to deal with Fandango. Even though their skits were the best, but they're not having to. He's not having to go on the road, and being on the road that's hard. At least now it's a little bit easier. We'll see. Well, Johnny Curtis.
So getting back to the club real quick. So Gallows and Anderson win the tag titles. AJ retains the U.S. title against Ricochet. And so they're kind of building the club, the OC, up as, kind of like big, unstoppable heels after they kind of, as Roger had mentioned, crushed the club for so long. So Andy, do you see the club as being this unstoppable heel force for the next few months? Is this what they're kind of going to be running with? Or do you think that they're just going to be kind of in the mid card, kind of hanging out there for a long time as the gatekeepers for the people moving up?
I'm wondering if they're gonna keep them going around for a while, just play by ear for a while, because I like it. I like the fact that they're together, because I think they should have been that way this entire time. It would not surprise me if Finn Balor joins them, because that would make even more sense. But it also depends on what does
That's
WWE
why it would
want to
surprise
do.
me.
Yeah, because you have the trio, you make it a foursome. A lot of people are happy then.
And Doug, in your opinion, do you think Finn joining is what they need to do with it? Like when he comes back, of course.
No, I think you keep it the trio, and I mean, I don't think it'll ever get bigger than just those three. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just going to be those three. They're going to basically hold on to the title until AJ loses the title. Then they'll lose their titles, or they'll lose their titles. Then AJ will lose his title. But they're doing the whole, New Day has the three titles, so the club has the titles. Thought they were going to do it with Undisputed Era, but they apparently did not. So we'll see.
Do you think that this will lead to a Collision Core Survivor Series where you have maybe Kofi and New Day take on the club, the OC?
You could. You just add two more people, another heel tag team and another face tag team to the match, and there you go.
And Roger, to kind of round off how WWE went for this past month, what did you think of SummerSlam as a whole?
Kind of the way I've thought about everything since the Rumble. It was pretty predictable, pretty boring, pretty sterile, disappointing, but not even disappointing. I mean, it was as disappointing as I expected it to be. It wasn't a great card. It's still too long. You still have too many titles. I don't think coming out of it that there's any great storylines that I'm looking forward to. Like, I wouldn't say that, like, ooh, I'm really excited to see where this program heads forward. I think a lot of the right people won. That's one positive I could say. Becky winning was smart. Bayley winning was smart. Seth winning was smart, though I don't think she should have lost it in the first place. But a lot of it is just kind of like they just seem on cruise control. For a company who's apparently worried about their competition, they don't seem to be acting with any urgency, and I think it's reflecting in their pay-per-views. This could have been an episode of Monday Night Raw with some bigger names. It's really what it felt like.
Now, Andy, before I throw it to you, so I think I'm going to be in the minority here because I want to know, Doug, yours and Andy's thoughts on this, but I actually enjoyed SummerSlam. And I think it's because I didn't watch the pre-show. Like I
You missed
specifically didn't
Edge?
watch it. I'm so sorry that I missed it. Yeah.
I didn't watch it either. I just found out about it actually tonight that Edge was there.
And I actually thought it was a fairly tight show. I liked the fact that it was 3.5 hours long. And I felt like I was thoroughly entertained for it. I agree with your points though, Roger. It was very predictable for the most part. I mean, when we did our pick'ems, we essentially only got one really wrong, which was Rollins winning and not Lesnar. That's the only one that we really got wrong. So that kind of says how the predictability of it all was. And I think some more big name matches would have been nice. Some more big name people on the card. A Daniel Bryan, a Roman Reigns, a Braun Strowman. Which, I mean, like, look, the fact that I'm asking for Roman Reigns to be on a card, that's not necessarily a good thing. Miz. But like,
oh my God, is Miz still with the? I thought he left the company for a bit.
Well, no, he's doing Miz and Maurice. But I actually like the Goldberg Ziggler match. I thought that was actually like enjoyable, and that there were AJ Ricochet, of course, put on a really good match, even though this is their fifth one in like 2 months. But there were some bright spots there that I saw that I actually enjoyed it. Is this the best, WWE pay-per-view this year? No. Is this probably like second or third? Maybe probably like their third best that they've put on so far this year. I like the fact that it wasn't 8 hours long. That was one of the shining spots for me. But I liked how tightly knit it felt. That was what I liked about it.
And I want to say I'm still a little surprised that it was over with, because I looked up at the clock and it said 9:15 Central, and I was like, wait, it's over with? Okay. Or maybe it was 9:30. It was still like, that's short compared to what they usually are. But I'm still wondering, they may change the time for pay-per-views, if not the date eventually. They're going to have to. And I think just to be kind of jerks to AEW, because if you have, like, for instance, let's say TakeOver was on the same night as All Out. I probably would still watch TakeOver because I don't want to shell out the $50 to get that pay-per-view. I already pay $10 a month for the network. So, but I'm wondering if they're going to experiment with that. But also, it makes it nice because if you're, East Coast, you're not up until 11 o'clock. I bet a lot of those people were like, whoa, wait a minute, we get to go to bed 30 minutes earlier? So, but yeah, I'm happy that this was tight. My thing was, I think it's just a solid C, maybe a C plus, because towards the end, I was bored. I was like, oh, wish this thing would just get over with. And then having to explain to my daughter why they're not trying to really hurt each other. Just one of those things. So, now, Doug, Aaron asked you that question. What do you think?
So, a couple things. I give it a solid C plus. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than a lot of people did. I thought the Bray Wyatt Finn Balor thing, it went long enough. It did what it's supposed to do. I think that would be an interesting storyline to even go to WrestleMania, where you have the Fiend versus the actual Demon. I would be interested in seeing that. So when Finn Balor comes back, he can go right back into that feud. But I also think that's the good thing about this. We're not going to see a rematch for the next 4 months. Let them stay away and then come back, and it's fresh again. Even though they faced each other, it's fresh, and it will be a new thing again. That'd be interesting. Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon, I thought served its purpose. Maybe it went a little bit too long, but it was a little over 9 minutes. Thought it did fine. Bayley and Ember, I think they tried a little too hard. I think there was a couple botches in there that, if they would have pulled them off seamlessly, it would have been a really, really good match. AJ Styles, Ricochet, good. Again, though, overdone. The Goldberg-Ziggler moment was just what it needed to be. Goldberg is, we saw him against The Undertaker. We know he can't go a long time and he can't pull off big, big moves or take big, big bumps. Becky Lynch versus Natalya was fine, but I think that was a little too long. And I think it makes the thing that stood out to me the most, and the point I want to make is my wife hasn't watched wrestling consistently since we were in college. And I turned it on during my dinner break at work, and I left and I didn't watch it, and she continued watching it. And she said this about the Charlotte Flair Trish Stratus match. I love the old school stars, and all but once they haven't wrestled for a while. They just need to stop and not come back. I don't know how hard, when you can tell, like the young stars are really helping the older stars even pull off their moves. Like, dude, it shouldn't be so obvious. When my wife, who hasn't watched wrestling for a solid 15 years maybe now, which is sad, I'm old, can spot that Charlotte Flair was wrestling herself with Trish Stratus in the ring. It really looked like she was beating up a wrestling buddy. It was Charlotte Flair versus the Trish Stratus wrestling buddy. That match was poor. And I like Trish Stratus, but when it's that obvious that Charlotte is doing everything in that match, it's time to hang it up, folks. Unless you're going to do a quick 2-minute match like Goldberg did, time to hang it up.
So my wife was saying to me, do you think she's had work done? And that looks like she's had work done. Like that does not look natural right there. I think she's had some work done.
Which one?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
And are you talking about Trish or the Gravedigger?
So I had a buddy with his girlfriend over, and so she was and my wife were both talking about how much work Charlotte had done, and then they were pulling up pictures of what she used to look like, and they were like, "Oh my god, like why would she do that to herself?" And like, is she like in her 40s or something? And of course, Charlotte's only like 32, and it was like, really, like she looks like 20 years older than what she actually is. That's what they were talking about. So wrestling analysis right there.
All right, so now we got to talk about NXT. So probably what I thought was going to be the worst match of the night turned out to be pretty good, actually. Io Shirai. Gosh, I can never say her name.
Io Shirai.
Io Shirai.
Io Shirai.
Thank you. Took on Candice LeRae in a great, great match. it's weird when you can almost say that husband and wife had like number 1, number 2, or number 1, number 3 match of the night. It's not too often you can say that, but it was really good. I thought everything made sense. I actually, for a while there, I was like, oh my gosh, Candice may actually win. But of course, it didn't happen, but I was really happy with this match. It was really, really good. Aaron, what did you think about the outcome and the match overall?
I was a little surprised. I thought that maybe they were going to give Candice LeRae a little bit of a push so that way she could challenge Shayna Baszler down the line. And, but just like with anything, this was a toss-up. I feel like the difference here is that when we look at the NXT TakeOver card as a whole, I felt like every match was a toss-up. Other than Shayna Baszler. That one, because I didn't feel like was a very credible opponent. I would have bet, $1,000 on that match. But everyone else, it was like, it's kind of a toss-up. It's 50-50. It's 33-33, 66 and 2/3 chance, for some. But but this match though was also, I thought was good. It was better than expected. Andy, you finally got that joke. It was better than expected. And
yes, I finally got the joke. Thank you, Aaron.
It was better than expected. They had the right amount of false finishes, and the ending was, maybe it was kind of abrupt, but like in a good way, and they just like went to the finish. It was like, oh, all right, that's what they're doing, and made Io Shirai look good. They did a fantastic job of showcasing her mean streak, which is what they've been trying to do. So, it was a good match. I was happy for both competitors.
I agree. Surprisingly great match. I didn't think this would go very long. It went a lot longer than I expected. Gave me a lot of false hope that I was gonna get the pick right in picking LeRae. But you know what? It served its purpose. It got both of them over. I have no problem with Io winning, and it'll be interesting to see where they go on with both of them looking strong.
This match did exactly kind of what I expected it to do. I think I talked about this when we did our podcast. This is to make Io Shirai look strong, and it's to make Candice look very sympathetic as a white meat babyface. Mission accomplished. Great match. This really might have been my favorite match of the night. I don't know if I want to say it was the best per se, but I think I enjoyed this one the most. It was really well done. I think the right person won. I think moving forward, they've got an interesting story to tell with Io and how she handles even another encounter with the champion. I don't think it'll be Shayna, but I'm glad that this isn't a match that I've seen 3 times before. One was enough.
Now, did you think that, we talked about this on the special we put out. Velveteen Dream took on Dunn, took on Strong. And we got this right. This is what we thought was going to happen. We thought that Pete Dunne was going to definitely take the fall. We just didn't know who was going to get on top. Did you think that this match was, in the right spot, but also makes sense?
I thought it was in the right spot. The only, and this is again a very minor criticism, is I thought they kind of force-fed the double spots too much. Like I felt like the stronghold I thought was really good, and that was fine. But then when Dunn kind of forced the double finger break, the double DVD, like all of a sudden it just became like all right, I get what they're going for here. So it was like, it was fine, but it just, I thought the double stronghold was cool and they could have stopped there. I didn't need the double finger break. I didn't need the double DVD or get to it a more creative way. But a minor complaint. I really enjoyed the match. I thought Strong was going to win. When he hit the finisher, I was like, oh, he's going to win. And Velveteen, I like that he is slowly becoming very edge-like and that he's an opportunist. Like he's, I think whoever the commentary, Nigel, said that he's pretty much like the ultimate opportunist. And that's fantastic. It's a great way to book Dream. He can float seamlessly between heel and face very well. Good match. I'm very happy Dream won. I picked Strong, but Dream winning means he stays down in NXT, and that is much better for his career going forward.
I thought this one was, even though I enjoyed the match, was a match by the numbers, just like Roger said, in the fact that everybody did basically the same thing. If one person did it, the next person got to do it, then the next person got to do it. Overall, still entertaining, but I think that took away from a little bit of the uniqueness of the match that I expect out of an NXT title shot like this, and especially with all 3 of them. Overall, it was still good match, but not what I was hoping for or expecting. But I am also glad that Velveteen Dream won.
Yeah, I definitely echo your guys' thoughts. And, just to kind of reiterate what Roger said, I hate whenever it looks like moves are being set up. That's one of the things I hate. One of the things we've really kind of talked about into the ground quite a bit was Del Rio's double stomp in the corner. and now and Andrade is doing that. You would like when they're pulling themselves up, and it's like all you have to do is just drop down, and then he can't do the double stomp. Like you're literally setting that up. Like that doesn't look real. And there were a lot of those double team moves where it just didn't look like it was like they were wrestling, and that's kind of the downside with it. With that said, Velveteen continues to just like he has so much charisma, and he is just he is doing wonders within NXT, and we say this every single time. Don't want him to get called up.
All right, so I want to throw this in Baszler one. We don't have to talk about that, of course. And then the tag match, I was really happy about. Street Profits won. I enjoyed the match. And again, Montez Ford, he will be something huge in the next few years. Hopefully they don't waste him. But I want to ask you guys about one thing that happened during the show. Matt Riddle and Killian Dane had their little brawl. Real quick, I mean, did you think that this was needed? Like, Roger, what are your thoughts on it?
I thought this was fantastic. This is an excellent way of keeping someone's feud going, keeping someone involved and on the card without doing a match. If this were the main roster, Riddle and Dane would have had the first of one of their 5 or 6 matches. Instead, you had Matt Riddle come out and call him out for a fight. We still got to see some good, action back and forth. Both of them looked strong in that fight. Dane came away looking like a beast. Riddle looked really tough. Well done. It was a great way to kind of break up the action anyway. This is well done. This is how I want to see feuds extended. This kind of reminded me, if you remember back to the beginning of SmackDown Live when Ambrose and Styles had a very long feud where Ellsworth was inserted, they would always do things like this to kind of keep the feud going, and they were good feud extenders. And this is the type of thing that I wish you would see more on the main roster. Everything doesn't need to be a match. Sometimes you can just have an old school fight, and that's fine. It doesn't need to just be Brock having a fight. You can have mid-carders come out and throw hands and get into a pull-apart brawl and break apart at the stage. Well done. Like, absolutely hands off to them. I enjoyed every moment of this.
Yeah, this is a wonderful transition from match to match and something else besides a backstage promo. Let's go to this interview. No, let's do more of this. This was awesome. This was card without actually being on the card. A little bit of a surprise aspect of it, but kind of like what we were discussing, I think, before the podcast, and how many wrestlers were missing on SummerSlam that we didn't get to see. This is a way to put on two more people without having a match. So I very much enjoyed this, and I look forward to when they actually have a real match, probably at War Games.
All right, so let's talk about the main event. This is a 2 out of 3 falls match. Gargano takes on Cole, and for the rubber match, as I kept hearing over and over again, I want to say that this match was great. I don't know who said it, but someone said they could have been done after the first one. I like how they transitioned from the first fall to the second fall with Gargano getting DQ'd and then continuing the chair shots. I thought that was great. And the ending, even though I saw it coming, I thought it was cool, but I'm a little upset no thumbtacks because that bag really, really messed with me. Aaron, the match overall and like as the feud, do you think that this is it? Do you think that they're going to do one more time and then it's over with, or is this just
no? Don't do it anymore. It's the third one. I'll let Roger talk about the fatigue aspect of it because I know he probably has a good rant for that. But the match itself was fine. It really harkened back to I believe it was Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, I want to say, in an Iron Man match where Lesnar hits Angle with a chair and then gets disqualified, so he loses a point, but then he beats the crap out of him and gets the point back essentially. And that it felt kind of similar with Gargano. I really like that. I like the kind of cage with barbed wire structure that they had for the third fall. I thought that was interesting too. They did some really innovative stuff, some really crazy stuff too. And it really felt like Cole escaped with this one. But like, you got to end it there. That's the thing. Yeah, I felt like they probably should have ended it. They didn't need the match in between. I felt like you don't have that match in between, and instead like have a different match in there or have a triple threat. Have something that it's not just straight up Gargano versus Cole, because there's a lot of fatigue that's going to happen there. And I think that was kind of the mistake that they made. What was that one? But as far as the rest of it goes, yeah, it was a good match. It was serviceable, and we'll see what they do next with Gargano. I don't know what's going to be next for him because I don't know where he goes from here if unless they continue the feud with Undisputed Era, which I hope they don't.
So I want to make this point in the aspect of, okay, if this is their third match, but this is also their second 2 out of 3 falls match. So that makes this essentially their 7th match. 7th in what, 3 months or however long? It got a little tiresome. Good. I mean, ultimately, if this was a standalone match for their feud, great match. But eventually, and I did enjoy the Johnny Gargano getting DQ'd. I think they could have utilized the street fight a little bit more. I thought it would have been awesome to see Tommaso Ciampa come out and help him defend against the Undisputed Era to kind of set up something else for War Games again. But I think they missed the boat on that one. But overall, Adam Cole wins. That's fine. Let's move on. Let's get a new contender for him. Johnny Gargano hopefully will have something else, whether he starts teaming with Ciampa or feuding against him again to see that. We'll find out in the short weeks to come.
Yeah, what Doug said, it hit the nail right on the head. This is essentially Fall 7. You don't need to do two out of 3 Falls matches and a match in between, especially when you talk about, and we talked about this after TakeOver New York, they did too many kickouts in that one match. And if you're going to do a match like that, I don't want a rematch. Then they did the rematch. Okay, it was another one of those kick out matches. Okay, please be done. Don't do this again. And look, I loved this spot. It's funny that Aaron thinks about Brock Angle because the first thing I thought of was Hunter Rock. And I remember in their Iron Man match, Hunter just absolutely leveled Rock with a chair shot, got disqualified, picks up an unconscious Rock pedigree, basically gets the pinfall right back, and now he's done damage to Rock's head for free. Made a ton of sense. I didn't need 3 of these. And I actually said this last year. Ciampa versus Gargano was fantastic at TakeOver Louisiana. I didn't need match 2. I really didn't want match 3. This is the same way I felt about Gargano Cole. I just don't need 3 straight matches. I would have happily watched them go in other places. If this were Cole versus Riddle for the title, or if this were Gargano versus Killian Dane, or split them up and move them somewhere else, I'm just done with this. They're both good. It wasn't a bad match, but I have to admit, I was ready for it to be done. Like this was the rare main event where I was kind of just like, it's not bad, but I've seen it so much. I mean, outside of you doing a Canadian Destroyer off the top of the cage, and please never try that, they weren't going to be able to do anything that I had never seen. So, NXT is usually much better about not doing this, though lately with Gargano, it seems like they've made this mistake. And you know what the sad thing about this is? Dream versus Gargano was one of my favorite matches of the year, and we've only seen one of that. I would have much rather a Gargano versus Dream main event for one of these for the title. That would have been fantastic. I would have loved to seen another Cole versus Aleister Black match before he got called up. That would have been fantastic. And, it's not like this was a bad card. Like this blew SummerSlam out of the water to me. But considering the amount of talent that the WWE isn't using on the main roster, they could have used some of that to booster this takeover. Like Shayna Baszler versus Asuka could have been fantastic here. If you would have thrown a triple threat in here and used one of those guys who just isn't being pushed on the main roster, I think that would have helped this. Not bad, but I'm done. Please move on. If they're in War Games against one another, I'm going to be so bored, and I'm going to be real disappointed.
I'm going to call it now. I said it. It's going to be Undisputed Era versus everyone else, and probably another people to eat the pinfall. I think that's what's really going to happen, and then winner takes all the titles. That's what I think is really going to happen. I know it sounds really dumb, and they shouldn't do that, but I have a feeling they're going to. I'm still looking forward to the next takeover, but we're going to see what's going to happen here shortly at the next set of tapings. So fingers crossed on that. So also let's point out one thing: Gargano, he probably had the best ring gear of anyone. I mean, him and Ricochet were right there of the weekend, and they must have got some deal on black latex as well. I'm just saying, because everyone had it. Anyway, so let's thank our sponsor, HostGator. Are you a blogger or podcaster? Or are you just not happy with your web host? You need to check out HostGator.com. You're going to find web hosting made easy and affordable. HostGator offers unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click strip installs, freeze up, and hands on the best control panel out there. Stop by today and try a free demo. It's the easiest. And if you use special coupon code off the mark, you're going to save 25% off your web hosting packages. So what are you going to lose? Check out HostGator.com and take a bite out of your web hosting costs. Also, make sure you check out Section 6's off the mark page and click on the banner at the top to save big on items from WWEshop.com. All right, let's talk something we haven't talked about in a while. New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW. We had the G1 Climax. Doug, start talking about this.
So every year, the G1 Climax for New Japan Wrestling is almost like their King of the Ring, only done correctly. In the fact that they have a round robin, two blocks, where everybody gets to face everybody, and depending on how you win, whether it be submission, pinfall, DQ, or anything like that, you get a certain amount of points. The winner of A block faces the winner of B block, and the winner of that goes on to their WrestleMania, which is Wrestle Kingdom, to face the champion. Unless the champion wins the G1 Climax, then he gets to choose who he gets to face. A block this year had Kota Ibushi, Kazuka Okada, Sonata, Kenta, Evil, Will Ospreay, Bad Luck Fale, Zack Sabre Jr., and Lance Archer. Winner of A block was Kota Ibushi with 14 points. The loser of A block had 6 points in Lance Archer. Very, very interesting. It always usually comes down to the last match or so. So that was pretty interesting. But what I thought was really, really good was the B block, which had Jay White, Goto, John Moxley, this new guy. I mean, he just spot out of nowhere. This is ultimately, I'm calling it right now, new wrestler of the year, John Moxley. Nato was there. Toriano was in there. I love Toriano. Juice Robinson, and several other people. But the big or interesting thing was, in this one, the winner of the B block was Jay White with 12 points. The person in last place had 8 points. It really came down to the last couple nights. Any one of them could have won. Very, very interesting. Set up a lot of good feuds for future Wrestle Kingdom matches that, WWE needs to learn from this. And the fact that they can set up other matches via other things, and other people can have other feuds, not even involving a title, that could be set up during or in between your pay-per-views. I always love the G1 Climax, and this year it was Ibushi versus Jay White, and Ibushi wins. So we are going to see Ibushi versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, and I can't wait.
What Doug said is 100% correct. Way to use a tournament and book multiple feuds, and way to make everyone who needed to look good coming out of this tournament. Kota Ibushi looks good. Jay White looks good. Okada looks strong still. It's not like they buried him and made him look like Leech. John Moxley started out real hot and faded. He gets it cost by Juice Robinson late. So now they've got a feud going. I mean, just really well done. I've heard great. I think Meltzer gave 3 of them 5 stars. Now, obviously, give it the Tokyo Dome scale, so they're probably only 4-star matches. But still, you're getting quality work here. And this is the thing, is that they're already talking about Wrestle Kingdom. This is one thing that I wish WWE did, is that right now, despite the fact that we're in the summer, you don't hear about the Royal Rumble. You don't hear about WrestleMania. There is no mention of what's upcoming. Whereas they're already talking about Wrestle Kingdom. They're talking about a number 1 contender. They're building to a main event. And they are building stars. They're building matches so that now I have 6 months to go, ooh, I really want to get this card. This is one of the things that I wish we got in the main roster. They used to do this. I remember this being a thing during the Attitude Era where people would talk about, oh, you need to get to this because you want to get to Survivor Series. You want to get to the Rumble. We don't get that anymore. But yeah, no, NJPW, I think well done. Right Guy won. The only thing that I'm a little bit bummed about is I wish this were 1 year ago, because I think Kota Ibushi versus Kenny Omega in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom would have been unbelievably good, because I was very disappointed with Tanahashi versus Omega. So if this could have been Ibushi, but Ibushi Okada would be great. It's not like that's a disappointment. Okada's fantastic.
Well, one of the things too I was going to just point out is Ibushi beat Okada in the final match to get him to win the A block. So Ibushi has the win over Okada, and that's the setup to Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, and one of the things too about the G1 Climax tournament is that And like with King of the Ring, for the most part, they, like I said, other than a couple of them, it's really a kind of a who's who. And they really do that with the G1 Climax, and they've won it multiple times. Okada's won it a couple of times. Omega's won it. Naito has won it 3 times. Tanahashi's won it 3 times. Or I'm sorry, Naito was twice. But even going back, they've done this since the 70s. So this has been going on since 1974, and they took a break in between, for a few years. But for the most part, it's been going on consistently. So you have Antonio Inoki, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan as G1 Climax winners. So this is a who's who. This is a Hall of Fame caliber event. And that's, I think, one of the things that really in WWE, the only time you have that is the Royal Rumble, where you have, past performers in there, and you also have kind of the big name stars. But like a King of the Ring, which they're bringing back, which is great. If they did that right, I think that there could be some good things with that. With the G1 Climax, though, they've already, they have the blueprint there saying, like, this is how you do tournaments and this is how you do them right. And I think it's exciting. You hear about it and you're like, all right, well, what's going to happen here? And you pay very close attention to it. And I think that the right person won, and now a lot of build up, and we're going to see what happens at Wrestle Kingdom. Was it 15 is the next one, or I want to say?
Should be Wrestle Kingdom 14.
14. Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 14. So, you have a big build up to that, and I think that's going to be really exciting.
When does Wrestle Kingdom take place again?
January 4th every year.
Oh, yeah, never mind. I keep forgetting that's what it is. Yeah, so we were talking like 5 months, pretty much, till their next show, and they're building up. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, that they're able to do that. So kudos to NJPW for doing that. But Doug, what is the biggest thing that happened besides that?
Well, see, and this is where we get into booking and storylines and long-term booking and everything like this. We had a couple things happen. So are you referring to the fact that Kenta joined the Bullet Club?
I don't know who this Kenta is.
This Kenta, I believe he was
the man who invented the go to sleep.
Yes.
Oh, that Kenta.
We saw him in a match in Chicago once. I think his twin was in NXT. That's what it was.
That's what it was. Okay. That's what I was trying to remember. If it was his twin. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
I'm going to say the guy that we saw in Phoenix was not Kenta. I refuse to acknowledge. Nope.
I like how we're not even using his name, because he was always Kenta to me. I don't care what anyone says. That was always Kenta.
His better name anyway.
Oh yeah, by far. I mean, I think Prince Devitt is better than Finn Balor, but we'll decide our battles here and there. But yeah, the G1 Climax was very entertaining. I'm glad everyone liked it. So, and Kenta joined the Bullet Club. That's another big deal. I thought WWE was going to try and buy the Bullet Club name, but I guess that's not happening. I guess you can't buy everyone or thing.
Well, I do find it interesting that, and again, I know not all of us follow NGPW, but they were doing this with the Bullet Club, and the original club members, they had their own little faction before WWE came up with it. So the fact that they're calling themselves the OC, even though New Japan Wrestling has done that also, you have different factions in the Bullet Club, although I believe now that they're going to be, again, reunited all under one banner. But it's funny. It's just funny to me.
Understandable.
Yeah, like the Bullet Club really needed a shot in the arm, because, you had Finn Balor, then you had AJ Styles, and then you had Kenny Omega as their, essentially their leaders. And after that, it's been kind of like fledgling. You really haven't heard a whole lot about them. So to have Kenta in there, somebody that, took over and really dominated pro wrestling. Noah goes to NXT, kind of is there for a little bit doing whatever. And then, goes back and goes to NJPW and, takes over the Bullet Club and is, essentially a jerk, like that. Cool. I'm interested again in the Bullet Club, because I hadn't been in, about a year. So yeah, maybe this will be really exciting.
Definitely some great wrestling out there. It doesn't matter whether you're WWE, NXT, NJPW, or even All Elite Wrestling. All right, so that's all the time we have for this month's show. If you're into the Twitter, you can follow us at AltMark86. I want to thank 86 Productions for hosting and editing the podcast, and I want to thank all our listeners for taking the time to download and listen to the show. And for Roger Cave, Doug Hunt, and Aaron Hughes, I am Andrew Hughes.